All right, so I'm continuing with the Tao Te Ching. Um, we're on verse number 16. I'm using the Stephen Mitchell translation, so this is just my interpretation. So verse 16. Empty your minds of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. Yeah, I just love this. Again, they give you little tidbits of how you can awaken and um, how you can continue with your spiritual progress by emptying your mind of all thoughts. So just meditate, watch your thoughts, and just let them go. Let your heart be at peace. Again, you're at peace. You want to go home. You want to return home to the Tao. And the way to do it is to empty the mind of all thoughts and have a peaceful heart, right? And it's hard and it takes time. And but that's how that's the Tao. You're sort of meeting with your truth. You're sort of meeting halfway by working on emptying your thoughts, because that's how you awaken. The no self, the thoughts, and a disturbed heart are veils to the eternal Tao, right? Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. So as you awaken and as you deepen, you could just notice, the world around you, and you could just notice other beings, other people. They're full of turmoil. The ego is controlling them. Their thoughts are controlling. Their pain bodies are controlling them. They're in turmoil, right? But I just love this compassion of contemplate their return back to source, their return back to love, the Tao, which is peaceful, right? Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source, returning to the source of serenity. I love that. So each person in this incarnation is source, comes from source, and returns to source, right? We are all a part of the Tao. So we are all one in the oneness. We're sort of swimming in the ocean of the Tao, of oneness, right? There's no escaping it. You're here. But most people don't realize it. So each person, whether they realize it or not in this incarnation, returns back to the source. Okay? And then it goes on to say, if you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. So living in ego consciousness, there's suffering, as the Buddha said. You know, you're just going along, and you're trying to get more and more, and you think that the external, having this job, having this, spouse, having this success and blah blah blah, money and blah blah, is all going to make you happy, fulfilled. But it keeps it, you're still suffering. There's still and confusion. You're still confused because that you you think this is all what that there is, the world of form, right? I think in Buddhism it would be called you're in delusion, and you're in ignorance, right? Because you're living in deluded, not in right. You're in ignorance, right, of how things are. And that's where suffering comes in. That's why when you awaken and you heal the pain bodies, and you let go of all the egoic garbage, the suffering goes down. The suffering, till one day there's no suffering. When you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. So I just love that. So it's like when you have the realization, when you awaken, it naturally comes of that you're tolerant, that there's love. You're disinterested, and I'm going to say disinterested, meaning disinterested in all the egoic games, all the garbage around. It's not like you don't care, but you're just like, oh, that they're living in delusion. They're living in confusion and delusion. And in a way, and this is not like in a mean way, but it's kind of amusing. I mean, you're free. I mean, one of the things that happens when you awaken is you kind of see the world now differently than you used to be caught up. You used to think it was so serious. This is so serious. My life is so serious. My pain is so serious. And then you realize that it's a joke, that the things that I thought were important are silly. So there's sort of an amusement. You're kind of sort of funny, right? And of course, you have compassion because other people are suffering, but on another hand, in another way, you kind of it's amusing. Okay, kind-hearted as a grandmother. Again, there you go. So even though it's amusing, you're compassionate. This is why wisdom. It's important to have wisdom and grow, because especially early on, you could be. You could come across as a little cruel, or either indifferent or whatnot. So you grow in wisdom and compassion, kind-hearted as a grandmother. So you could see people stumbling around in egoic land, and they're suffering, and you still help them in whichever way you can, or you're still compassionate to them like a grandmother. Dignified as a king. Okay, so there's a dignity, a newfound dignity in being in awakening, right? But not lording over. You're not lording over as a king, right? But you're dignified. It's like this is true dignity, right? This is true dignity. Oh. because this is from source. This is source. Source itself is true dignity, right? Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you. And when death comes, you are ready. I just love that. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, it is wondrous. It's wonderful, and you're just like at awe. You're like, the Tao. This is just because you're no longer attached, and there's no longer judgments and so forth. You're just at awe with everything that happens. And you could deal with whatever life brings you, because life has its issues and its problems, and it's not perfect, right? It's perfectly imperfect or imperfectly imperfect. No, it's perfectly imperfect or imperfectly perfect, as I like to say. But you could deal with whatever life brings you, because you just go with it. You go with the flow, and you're in a deep acceptance. You're in the acceptance of whatever happens, because you know that you're eternal, and you know that you're going with the flow of the Tao, right? Just like this ambulance, is part of the Tao in this now moment, right? And that's what's happening. The sound, and hopefully everyone's okay, and but you whatever happens, there might be sickness, or a family member dies or whatnot, and you're in a deep acceptance, right? And when death comes, you are ready, because you know that there is no death. I mean, you're ready that this incarnation is over, but you know deep inside, not intellectually, but deep inside that your truth is beyond death. It can't die. It's eternal. Okay. So that's it. So that's number 16 of the Tao. So hopefully this has been helpful, and love you. And until we meet again next time in the serene, deathless, empty of mind, and also compassion for others who haven't had a realization yet, now moment.